There's a very specific kind of moment that you just don't forget it. You walk into a room, you say something honest, you do something different, you wear something that actually feels like you, and you hear it, right? The side comments, the little chuckles, the joke at your expense that it lands just hard enough to sting a bit, but it's still soft enough to where they can always say, "Hey, relax, dude. I'm just kidding," right? So yeah, they're smirking, everyone's laughing, your stomach drops, and then you go into fight or flight, and your brain it goes straight to the same conclusion it's been trained to run to since you were a kid, right? Which is, okay, well, I must be the idiot here. That's the script. If they're laughing, I must be wrong, or I must be a loser. I must be cringe. I should probably shrink or run away. But here's the thing: nobody ever told you that might be the wrong interpretation of that situation. I mean, let's say it plainly here. I mean, a lot of the time, when people are laughing at you, they're not exposing your weakness. They're not. They're accidentally confessing their own. Mockery isn't always proof that you're ridiculous. More often, it's proof that you've become a problem for someone who has, built their life on playing it safe. Status quo Joe, right? And so what happened was you showed up as a mirror, and now they're scrambling to break it. I mean, just look at who never gets mocked, okay? The person who blends in, the one who never says anything that risks disapproval, right? The guy who always laughs with the group, never goes against it. Status quo Joe. Nobody wastes a joke on him. Not on that guy. Why would they? He doesn't threaten anything. He doesn't threaten the group in any way, shape, form, or fashion. People don't mock what's invisible. He is invisible. They mock what stands out. They don't go after the person who abandoned their dreams years ago and is just living life, a boring one at that, on autopilot, right? What they do is they go after the one who still has the nerve, the gall, the audacity to try and to experiment and to be seen and stand out, right? So, I mean, ask yourself, I mean, have you ever seen a group of people just roast some completely forgettable background character for 20 minutes straight? No, of course not. Of course not. They save that kind of energy for the one who breaks the pattern. I mean, there's a reason jokes about you almost always come with an audience. Very, very rarely does someone just pull you aside for a one-on-one to say some clever cutting line just for you. No. They wait until there are eyes and ears, because guess what? They need the group. They need the group for ballast. Because on their own, they got nothing, man. They might have to, on their own, they might have to, actually sit with the uncomfortable feeling underneath the joke. And that uncomfortable feeling is in actuality, you're doing something I never allowed myself to do. So what do? They perform. They turn you into content, right? They throw your difference into the center of the room and sacrifice it to keep the group's comfort intact. The laugh is not just aimed at you, it's for them. It's for them. It's to soothe the anxiety that shows up when your existence exposes their compromise. I mean, you think the punchline is about your clothes or your ideas or your personality? No, most of the time it's about their unfinished business. I mean, dude, just think about the stuff they choose to attack. I mean, they're not mocking your breathing or tying your shoes. They zero in on things that are tied to courage and freedom and risk. Right? I mean, just think about it. Like, let's say you finally decide to take your art seriously. Well, they're going to say things like, well, look at Picasso over here, right? Right? Or, you want to start your own business. and you take that seriously. And then you're going to have these comments of like, oh, look at this Alex Hormozy wannabe. Huh? Let me know how that goes. Right. Or you just, you just start speaking more directly, not dancing around your opinions. And then all of a sudden you got them saying things like, hey, calm down, philosopher. You think you're so deep? Just listen carefully to the pattern. If you embody if you embody courage, then the fearful will call you reckless, right? Or if you embody freedom, that's going to expose people that feel trapped. They're going to call you, well, I don't know, irresponsible. Or if you embody vision, you're going to have people that don't have any vision, these blind suckers, just saying you're delusional, right? Just throwing all the, what are all the labels? They're going to throw all these labels at you. And these labels, they sound like criticism, but they're mapped perfectly to the thing that scares them about you. And that's not random. That's projection. Projection is simple. It's basically saying, I don't want to admit this part exists in me, so I'll say it's you. Right? It's emotional trash that they don't want to hold on to. And so what do? They throw it over, they chuck it over to your side of the fence into your yard. And then act like you're the one with the mess. And your mistake is that you believed them. You started cleaning up what was never yours. You changed how you dress. You toned down your interests. You started editing your own personality before it left your mouth. All because someone who can't sleep at night with their own regrets needed a place to dump them. But there's another tell, which is persistence. Just think about it. If someone makes just a quick joke and then they move on, okay, fine, whatever. Maybe they just like being funny. Okay, see you later, pal. But I mean, if your name is on their tongue every time you're not around, if you keep, if they keep repeating the same story about you, if they're bringing up something you did months ago, that's not comedy anymore. They're orbiting. They're circling you like a moth around a light bulb, right? Pretending they hate it. If you truly didn't matter, they'd just forget you. They wouldn't replay you. They wouldn't build bits and routines around you. At the end of the day, obsession dressed up as disdain is still obsession. They are telling you with their attention that you are taking up space rent-free in their mind, okay? You have something that they wish they did. So let's talk about envy, shall we? Because this is where it all really lives, right? Envy. Almost nobody will look you in the eye and say, "Hey, buddy, I envy you." You never hear that. No. Because that sentence, it feels like, I don't know, genuflecting or something. It feels like they're lowering themselves in some competitive ladder so that they won't say it. What they'll say instead is things like, yo, you only had that because you're lucky, or that's not that impressive. That's not that hard. Anyone could do that. Oh, okay. Anyone apparently except you, right? I mean, listen to that move. I mean, they can't deny that you did something. So they try to diminish what it means, right? They downplay your courage and just say that it's just dumb luck, right? Or they chalk your discipline up to obsession, or the results that you're getting, which are pretty darn good. They'll just say, "Oh, well, that's not that big of a deal." They dismiss it. That they do that so they don't have to feel the sting of their own inaction. That's why they dismiss any of that, all that stuff. Because if you're nothing special, then they don't have to ask the real questions. They don't have to ask themselves, why didn't I try? So they sand you down. They explain you away. They make you smaller and smaller and smaller. You hear criticism, but what you should hear is this. What you should hear is, you scare me because you prove what I told myself isn't possible is possible. there's a tension inside most people. There's a tension. I mean, people say they want originality and authenticity and courage to stand out, all that stuff. They'll post about it, post quotes, clips, whatever, you know. But when they actually meet it face to face in an actual human being, they know it's a different story. It's a different story. The person who refuses to play the game exposes the fact that everyone else is still playing. The one who doesn't lie to fit in exposes the quiet lies everyone else lives with. Right? The one the dude who takes the weird path exposes the line of people standing in the safe queue, the Joe Schmo, status quo people. So what do they do with that discomfort? Well, they don't say, well, damn, you're free and I'm not. No. What they say is, dude, you're weird. You're too much. Nobody cares. Who do you think you are? And then the crowd laughs because that sentence doesn't just push you down. It pushes the question down. And that question is, why didn't I choose differently? Mockery becomes it becomes crowd therapy. It becomes crowd therapy. You're the sacrifice. They're the ones being soothed. I mean, dude, if you just zoom out and look at history, this pattern is freaking everywhere. The people that we now quote and post and pretend we would have supported, dude, they were freaking mocked when they were alive, right? The writer who wouldn't write what sold, the scientist who wouldn't accept the consensus, the artist whose work didn't fit the current tastes of the time, right? The person in your family who refused to live the script everyone else inherited. They were called names. They were called insane and arrogant and unrealistic and selfish. They were called all those things. But then later, those same traits, they got rebranded as visionary and genius and brave. The behavior didn't change. The crowd's relationship to their own fear did. And I'm not saying that you're some undiscovered genius. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that the pattern is the same at every level. Right? What doesn't fit yet, it gets attacked first, and then it gets copied, and then it gets praised. Right? Mockery, imitation, respect, in that order. And most of the time, the people who mocked the loudest are the ones who end up dressing like you and talking like you or using the ideas that they laughed at. They had to distance themselves from you publicly while privately taking notes. Okay? So where does that leave you? Where does that leave you? Because none of this means that you're supposed to enjoy being targeted. I get it. Being laughed at sucks. Being singled out hurts. I get it. We are wired. We are social creatures. We are wired to want belonging. You can't just turn that off. You can't. But you can do something else. You can stop using mockery as a measurement of your value. You can stop taking their performance as a verdict of your life. Instead, you should start asking better questions. Not what's wrong with me, but what about me makes them this nervous? Not how do I become less embarrassing, but what did I touch in them that they refuse to look at? Those questions pull you out of shame and into a clearer perspective. Because once you stop swallowing every joke as truth, you start hearing the tremor underneath it. You start hearing the confession. You start hearing it. So what do you actually do the next time it happens? The next time someone makes some slick comment and the group laughs and all eyes are on you. The first thing that you do is you breathe. You just breathe. Because your nervous system is going to do one of two things. It's either going to want to attack back or disappear, fight or flight. But here's the thing, you don't have to do either one of those. You can hold eye contact, have a half smile, and just let the silence just stretch an extra second longer than is comfortable, right? Just to not to win, but just to show yourself that you don't have to sprint to fix their discomfort. Remember, that moment says more about their internal war than your worth. And if you want to respond, you don't need a TED Talk. Just simply say something like, interesting that bothers you so much. Or you've put a lot of thought into my life. I mean, that's enough to really just to flip the mirror back on them without blowing the place up, right? You're not there to convince them. You're there to not abandon yourself. The deeper work isn't about one-liners anyway. It's not. It's about how you carry yourself in those moments. You keep doing the thing that they're trying to shame you out of. You keep posting, you keep building, you keep dressing the way you like. You keep thinking out loud. Keep walking your weird path, okay? Not to be performative, but as a refusal to hand them the steering wheel. Because here's the real trap. If every time someone laughs at you, you change direction, that's not living. You're not running a PR department here, okay? You're not, in that moment, you're not a person, you're a reaction. Mockery only has power if you turn it into a command. Don't. Hear it, decode it, learn from it if there's some actual truth there. Eat the meat and spit out the bones. But stop letting it decide how big you get to be. There's one more thing that you need to understand, okay? You will never live an awake, honest, noticeable life without triggering envy somewhere. It's just not possible. If you stay small enough that nobody ever feels threatened, you're gonna suffocate, okay? And if you get big enough that your existence wakes people up, some of them are going to hate you for it. Those are your actual options, okay? So when the laughter comes, when the sarcasm shows up in your comment section or in your group or in your family, just try this, okay? Instead of hearing "you're ridiculous," hear "you reminded me of the part of myself I walked away from." Okay? Or whatever. If they say "you're too much" or whatever, instead of hearing that, what you need to hear is "I feel too little standing next to what you're willing to be." And you don't have to say any of that out loud. You just need to know it. Because once you know that, their laughter, it changes shape. It stops sounding like a verdict. It starts sounding like what it actually is. A crooked round of applause from people who don't know how to clap. So if you're the one getting joked about, the one who thinks he's special, the one who everyone has to take on, here's the line I want you to put somewhere in your head. Write it down or remember it. And that line is, they only laugh at the people they secretly want to be. You don't need to weaponize that. You don't need to look down on them. You don't need to pretend you're above being hurt. You just need to stop shrinking. Because the fact that they're spending their breath on you at all is proof of one simple thing. You're not invisible anymore. And once you understand what their mockery really reveals, you won't waste your life trying to earn the approval of people who are really just telling on themselves.